As was said, Marc Morano, Craig Rucker, we are both with CFACT, and it's a pleasure to be here. I want to start by congratulating the Heartland Institute on just a great conference you guys are having here. Good job. Now, I think the impact of this conference will prove that what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, right? All right. We're here to talk about Climate Hustle, a movie that we produced out of curiosity, looking across the room. How many of you saw our original movie, Climate Hustle? A good many of you. All right, now the big question. How many of you have seen our follow-up, the one we're advertising today, Climate Hustle 2? A few, a number that haven't seen it. All right, well, that's good news for you because actually the Heartland Institute is going to show it at the, the Paris Casino right near here at the conclusion of this conference, and you will have an opportunity to see it. And for those of you who have seen it, you should come again. I've been told by James that he's going to open up the largesse, the Horn of Plenty from Heartland, and they're going to give out free drinks and food, and that Elvis and Marilyn may even be there. So, you know, you may want to check it out. Anyway, Climate Hustle 2 obviously is the one that's a follow-up to our first film, Climate Hustle. Why did we create Climate Hustle? We think media, or films, are a great way to reach the audience. I know a lot of the people here like, you know, looking at white papers and studies and things like that, but an awful lot of the public, you know, they get their information the other way. A lot of conservatives have actually got into the Hollywood scene. I know Ann and Fallon McAleer have produced some great movies. Maybe you've heard of them. I think they've been at previous conferences here. You know, Dinesh D'Souza did, but neither of them are really our inspiration. It was really Al Gore. Many of you may remember his film, An Inconvenient Truth, back in 2006. He won an Academy Award for it. But as a result of that movie, we said there really needs to be an antidote to that. And hence we went about creating Climate Hustle. Many of you were in that movie. We released it in Paris and it went to great acclaim. We got a great media packet, a lot of publicity. It wound up being in 400 theaters and actually was the #1 movie in America for its one-night showing. Competition wasn't real tough. I think we beat Batman versus Superman in My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. But we were #1 in America for one night, and Jimmy Kimmel noted that and took occasion to attack it for 7 minutes on his late night show. Something we're proud of. All right, that movie discussed the science of climate change. And we wanted to prove that people were being hustled. The logical question that went through a lot of people's heads is, okay, we see the left and the Greens aren't really squaring with us on polar bears, sea level rise, all these different issues, but why would they do that? Aha, that made for our second movie, Climate Hustle 2, to look into the motivations of why the Greens would do that. We recruited a Hollywood actor for this one to help Mark with the narration, Kevin Sorbo. And he agreed to do it, and we set about to make what I think was a fantastic movie. And we had it put together. We had the financial backing. We had, you know, a lot of our success from the first movie, the contacts that we had made. We had went back to the same theaters, and because of the commercial success of the first one, instead of 400 theaters, we were going in 750, going to 800 theaters. Everything was going good. We picked a date, Earth Day, 2020. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, you got it. It was the apocalypse, right? All right, initially, we tried to postpone the movie for a month or two. That worked for a while until Carmike, AMC, everything went bankrupt. And we were kind of put into a quandary as to when we would be able to get the movie out. Fortunately, we weren't the only ones in that particular category. Other people, even those on the left, like Michael Moore, who had put out Planet of the Humans, started releasing online. So we took that approach and we put it out online to a world premiere in September of 2020, and it surpassed our expectations. We were in over 90 countries around the world. The revenue came in, and commercially, it did not do too badly, considering. So anyway, That's a little bit of the background of what the movie is. I'm going to let Mark actually explain a little more in detail as to what it is, a breakdown of kind of what the movie's about and how we approach those issues. But before we do, we're going to give you this sneak preview.
Nearly every day, we hear dire predictions about climate change from the media establishment, Hollywood, and politicians. They tell us that the world is coming to an end because normal human activity is raising the temperature to dangerous levels. To avoid a hellish apocalypse, they warn us we must immediately change our lifestyles and our very way of life. But are these sensational claims based on solid empirical science? Do the facts line up with the hype? Well, an increasing number of scientists are becoming skeptical. We covered what many of these scientists had to say in our first groundbreaking film, Climate Hustle. From overhyped claims about severe weather events, temperatures, rising sea levels, and even disappearing polar bears. Climate Hustle peeled back the hype and looked at the facts. Facts that simply don't add up to any reason for alarm. So this begs the questions. Why would those claiming a global warming catastrophe spread a false narrative? What would motivate them? Why would they try to hustle you? Are they trying to control the climate or you? Well, those are the questions we're going to explore in this film. And the answers may shock you. Order your DVD, Blu-ray, or digital copy today of Climate Hustle 2.
All right, thank you. That was our little teaser trailer. And the film, as Craig mentioned, came out in, I guess, September of 2020, right during the middle of the campaign. A few little stories behind that. We actually had, when Kevin Sorbo, we shot down in Tampa Bay, an area, his scenes, the city of St. Petersburg, Florida, because we had shot a lot of the film there, always likes to honor the homegrown films. And we actually found a council member who was going to host a whole St. Petersburg Film Festival for our movie. It was going to be a night of honor. They were going to have the preview. The guy was all assuring us it was going to happen. And what do you think happened then? He went back to the council, and everyone was like, oh, great, a movie was shot. And what's the movie called? Climate what? It's a what? A climate denier film? And immediately, St. Petersburg pulled the invitation, and the movie never got. Similar thing happened with Amazon Prime. As Craig mentioned, the first film we released, we had a premiere in Paris, and then we released in theaters, Paris in 2015, at the UN Paris Agreement. The morning of, they put up the wanted posters. I think you saw some. It had Myron Ebell, I think James Taylor was on them. They had a picture of me on it. The wanted for criminal du climate. And it turned out our premiere in Paris had to be shut down for a while because the protesters overwhelmed it. The police had to come in, clear everyone out. We ended up premiering it in an old movie theater there. Well, this film, and then it ended up on Amazon Prime, and it did very well with pay-per-view rental and even purchasing on it. So we fast forward, we go back to Amazon and say, hey, we have the sequel, Climate Hustle 2. And Amazon says, okay, submit it. We submit it, and it takes a while. We get back that it's a violation, I think it was content review or a violation of their content rules. So they said no. But in saying no, something else very strange happened. They pulled our first movie, which had been up for 4 years, Climate Hustle. They just said, someone at Amazon said, no, we can't do that movie. Wait a minute, they have the first one up? Get that out of here. So we actually helped them remember that they shouldn't have allowed our first movie according to their content violation. So we went up against all insurmountable odds, trying to get this out during the election year, trying to get it out with all the restrictions on social media and Facebook and the fact checking. But what I want to show you next is John Stossel, who's been a great friend of scientific skepticism and challenging the consensus and the narratives, did a whole segment on the film. So if you have that ready, I want to show you that, then I'm going to talk a little bit about what the movie did, and then a little bit about tomorrow, briefly, about how we're going to have the screening. So if we have the John Stossel, this is the segment he released last fall, right when the movie was being released. Climate Hustle 2 with John Stossel segment on it.
If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilization...
Before COVID, climate change was the big crisis.
What I'm saying is the planet's on fire.
When COVID is conquered, climate change will be the big crisis again. Saying it's not a crisis makes some people mad. Students at Georgetown University honked horns to prevent others from hearing Marc Morano say it.
They do not want dissent.
They shout you down at schools.
What do we want?
Climate justice!
Georgetown police said they'd never seen an event shut down like that before.
How dare you?
Of course young people fear climate change. They've been frightened about it since they were little.
Rising sea levels would displace millions.
It's an indoctrination that's so complete that by the time they get to high school, they're not even aware that there's any scientific dissent.
I do go to a class of 16, 17-year-olds in school and start talking to them about climate, and they are amazed to hear that there is an alternative point of view.
Climate justice! Now!
These students don't want to listen, but Morano's new movie, Climate Hustle 2, includes facts they should hear. Politicians should hear them too.
If we would do more on climate change, we'd have fewer of these hurricanes and other types of storms. Everyone knows that.
No, everyone doesn't know that. Listen to Congress's own hearings.
Are hurricanes increasing?
In the United States and globally, no.
Are tornadoes increasing?
There's no evidence to suggest that they've been increased.
Are droughts increasing?
According to the EPA and according to the IPCC, the answer is no.
You wouldn't know that watching CNN.
There will be irreversible damage to the planet.
The media do hype every scare. And when Morano says they exaggerate the risks, they call him evil personified, a climate denier. Why should we believe you? You're getting money from the fossil fuel industry.
ExxonMobil, Chevron funded.
Yeah. You're not?
Not at all. I am paid by over about 90% individual contributions from around the country. Why would ExxonMobil give me money? And we would gladly accept the money, but they're not interested. They want to appear green.
Cut their greenhouse gas emissions in half.
Morano's movie also frustrates activists because it points out how hypocritical some of them are.
Ladies and gentlemen, the thrice-nominated Leonardo DiCaprio.
I try to live a green lifestyle, quote unquote. I mean, I've done the things that I can do in my house to make my house green, energy efficient appliances. I drive a hybrid car.
Bet he didn't drive his hybrid to
a billionaire summer party in Sicily with celebs like Leonardo DiCaprio, Katy Perry, all in attendance. They all came together to discuss, wait for it, you guys want to guess? Don't read the prompter, don't read. Okay, global warming. I know.
Got it.
Okay. Did everyone miss the memo on this?
It's like me promoting weight loss and eating a cheeseburger.
They just don't walk the walk when it comes to that lifestyle.
I like watching Morano point out celebrities' hypocrisy, but one point in his movie probably goes too far.
Stopping climate change is not about saving the planet. It's about climate elites trying to convince us to accept a future where they call all the shots.
Your movie suggests this world government conspiracy that they want to rule us, but I think they are genuinely concerned and they want to save us.
Their vision of saving us is putting them in charge.
And if they're in charge, says the movie, they'll destroy capitalism.
We've got to go straight to the heart of capitalism and overthrow it.
Some even say that prosperity's bad.
Coronavirus. Who could have thought that someone could say this is a wonderful thing?
Because there is less trade, there's less travel.
Former UN climate chief Cristina Figueres has said it could be a good thing for the climate. There's a whole degrowth movement calling for planned recessions in order to fight global warming.
Degrowth would be a bad thing. You can watch Morano's entire movie at climatehustle2.com. We count on viewers like you to keep these videos coming. Please click that button. Climate extremists got Facebook to block our latest video on climate change and California wildfires. We'll need your help.
Thank you. That Stossel clip, by the way, he got fact-checked. He is now suing Facebook in a very well-worded, well-argued lawsuit for censorship because they basically said they fact-checked him, and when Stossel reached out to the fact-checkers, they admitted in emails and in conversations with Stossel that he was not wrong, but they still wouldn't remove the fact-check on him, so he may have a good legal case. That was a good encapsulation of the film. The film, we have a whole section on climate being a religion. We have a whole section on the climate monarchy, how the elites of the old, we went to the Versailles Palace in France, and we interviewed Lord Monckton on the history of monarchs. I mean, this really is a whole world where they want to put the elites in charge, and we are going to just be the masses. We go through wacky solutions. We feature a professor talking about shrinking human beings in the film. We go through the whole movement against meat eating, against promoting insect eating. We go into a little bit of the science. You know, Al Gore is right. Polar bears are disappearing, but they're only disappearing from Al Gore's books and movies. His first film featured him as the poster boy, and there was literally no mention of polar bears in his second film in 2017. That's because they're at or near historic population highs. So I think Stossel in there said we went too far in expressing our, saying that, you know, it was a global conspiracy. Well, the first comment I'd make is 2020 was the year conspiracy realities outnumbered conspiracy theories for anyone watching on the global scene. What's happened essentially, and the movie goes into it opens with COVID and ends with COVID, but we start out, the climate movement was just essentially jealous of COVID-19 because all the same solutions they had advocated. In fact, Ivo de Boer actually said the only way to reach our 2-degree temperature goal was to shut down the global economy. He said that in 2012 or 13. Bingo, 2020, they got their wish. They got to shut down the economy and 7% drop in emissions. But essentially, climate activists from Tom Friedman of the New York Times to Christiana Figueres have praised China's one-party system. They've praised the lack of democracy. The leaders can impose what's right for the climate. And if you see what happened with COVID, not only did they get their planned government recessions, but they got Chinese one-style party dictatorship in the once free West. And that's what's so shocking about the COVID climate connection. So we do touch on that at the beginning of the film and go through it, just how they're all excited because now unelected bureaucrats can rule every aspect of our life. And it goes further now. The Biden administration, which we released this film right when the election was happening, right before the vote. But the Biden administration has decided to make every cabinet agency a climate agency, which means they're not interested in a vote on the Green New Deal, on congressional hearings, on town hall meetings. They just want to impose it through the administrative state, the Woodrow Wilson aspect, unelected bureaucracy. That is why the climate threat of this whole movement has been enhanced dramatically by the COVID lockdowns. So we touch on that, but we go through, we went to Czech Republic to interview Václav Klaus, and he had a great expression. He said, this is nothing but the same mentality that repressed Eastern Europe under the Soviet system for all those years. He calls it masterminding from above, and this time they're using the climate. So I think you really enjoy this movie. We go through a lot of fun stuff in it. We go through the climate change musical, the funding behind climate. We actually have clips of the federally funded climate change musical, and it turns out it wasn't such a bad musical. It's very silly to see people up there literally singing about a UN climate treaty, but what they're saying is they're talking like blah, 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 like Greta Thunberg just did. The activists that we funded through our taxpayer dollars are trashing the UN process as producing nothing but hot air. They've done nothing on the climate. Greta Thunberg is now realizing that. So I think we have a rare moment of agreement between climate skeptics and climate activists, and that the whole UN process is a bunch of hot air. In other words, if you actually cared about climate change, you'd do the opposite of it. And if you don't care about climate change, you can just still point out the absurdity of these UN summits. So tomorrow, open bar, free food. It's, I think, anywhere, I've been told, 10 to 25-minute walk from here at the Paris Casino. We'll have the movie. I think you guys will really enjoy it. We go through the whole agenda, featuring everyone, a lot of the scientists in this room, a lot of Heartland experts, and also some people from the left that, like Robert Giegengak, who voted for Al Gore and was appalled when he saw his film. He was the head of the geology department at University of Pennsylvania. So we also have Ivar Giaever in this, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist. So I think you'll like it, and it ends with a hopeful message on how we can fight this whole climate agenda. But thank you very much for your time. Craig, do you want to add anything? Or?
No.
All right. We're good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. All right.